City Council Live. It's Philadelphia City Council Live expected today. We do expect the start of the Philadelphia City Council meeting as a whole momentarily. They typically are scheduled to start at 10 a.m. So obviously there'll be a few moments late. They've been pretty punctual for the most part in recent months. And so we do expect them momentarily. You will probably start hearing, as I cue you, you will start hearing the voice of Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark. And so we will wait as we are here live during the Thursday edition of Reality Check, which means it is Philadelphia City Council Live. I'm your host, executive producer, and creator of Reality Check, but also your anchor for Philadelphia City Council Live, Charles Ellison. I'm at Ellison Report on Twitter.com, by the way, hashtag Reality Check, or for today, for the purpose of today on Thursdays, hashtag City Council Live to catch some of the conversation, catch some of the deliberations, debate, and other issues that you will capture inside the Philadelphia City Council. As you can see, it is an empty room behind me. It has been an empty room for pretty much all of pandemic, and it will remain such at least in the immediate and near future until basically government is feeling safe enough to have the city council convene in person. But that's once we officially get past this pandemic. We're still waiting on them. I'm not sure, hope you heard my, over the past few days, reminding people to sign up for public comment period. Obviously the deadline for that has passed for today. But next week, so the clock starts now for next week by next Wednesday at 3 p.m. to sign up for the public comment period. Go to phlcouncil.com, phlcouncil.com for more information on that. And once again, go to that navigation bar at the top of that screen at phlcouncil.com and click on legislation and hearings. The drop-down menu goes to offering public comment at council stated meetings. To keep track of this session, also to keep track of the bills that are being either introduced or announced that are slated for passage either today or that are being sent to committee, etc. You can go to phlcouncil.com and then once again go to legislation and hearings and click on Legislative Information Center. You click on the Legislative Information Center and then another website will appear. That's phila.legistar.com. Click on legislation and then you've got an open menu. It'll have like a search function, a search key. It's already prompted for this year. So all you got to do is just press the button, search legislation, and all the legislation that's been introduced in 2021 in the Philadelphia City Council pops up, and then you can keep track of what's going on in real time. That's the easiest way. I wish I had a screen here on WURD TV where I could show everyone, maybe like do a little presentation and show everyone how that works. So, which just gave me an idea just now. Maybe there's a simple way to do that using our social media vehicles, but definitely that is like the easiest, most direct way to keep track of legislation that is currently under deliberation, that is currently on tap for the Philadelphia City Council. So there's that. At PHL Council on Twitter.com, on social media, for all those who do venture onto those digital platforms, that's at PHL Council. We do know that they are taking place today. They are scheduled to talk today. So, because we went to at PHL Council and they did make an announcement about that. So, phone lines are also open when we have periods. Well, let's go ahead and open it right now. Then obviously the city council president at some point will announce that they will get ready they'll get the tech together for the public comment period, and we'll open up phone lines then. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here today on City Council Live. It's 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. It is live. Also, earlier this morning, I gave the keynote address at the first annual Black Health Matters PA conference. That's the Black Health, the Pennsylvania Black Health Matters conference. So for more, that is ongoing all throughout the day. And in fact, I am scheduled to be the moderator for a conversation that's going to be taking place about food sovereignty, food security, and also about, the various dietary choices that we're making as a people and how that affects us individually, also how it impacts our collective health and condition as well. So looking forward to that. It's a fairly big conference. There's a number of luminaries and public officials, policymakers. I'm told U.S. Senator Bob Casey, he's also supposed to be participating in this conference as well, including a number of other folks. So there's quite a few prominent folks, especially in the public health space, will be attending today's PA Black Health Matters conference. So go to blackhealthmatterspa.org. So if you weren't on there already earlier today, and then I was delivering the keynote address earlier, about a little bit over an hour ago. So, but blackhealthmatterspa.org. For more there, you might even still be able to register. It's free registration, and then you can be taken into it's free registration, and you can be taken into a variety of events and a variety of conversations on the state of Black health in Pennsylvania and elsewhere. Let's go to Woody out of Winfield, who's calling in for a reality check while we wait on City Council.
Hey, Charles, I'm not going to hold you long because I know council is supposed to be on and they'll probably pop right up. I just wanted to say that everybody's not computer literate. And I think there's a lot of elders that have a lot to say, but they won't be able to say it as long as we keep forgetting about them. And there should be some type of a way that some of the elders who are computer illiterate, they're very intelligent, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you're dumb, very intelligent, and they know how to fix things. And their experience shows for itself, because when wisdom and knowledge come together, they always create an explosion called understanding. And without our elders, we won't get that.
Right.
Now, last but not least, and I'll share this with you, to show you how the news media is. That young man, and I don't know if you remember his name, but the news kind of played it down. They had him on the news, but they didn't really show his face, what his background is, what he's all about. That went into a house and pulled a white guy out. His house exploded. And this young man's name, I believe it was Dyer. His last name is Dyer, and I think his first name was Rakim. The thing is, that should be all over everywhere as it relates to anybody's conversation, because how many people would do something like that after you saw the whole wall of the house explode?
Wow.
Come on. And nobody's talking or saying anything about it. So I'm just saying this is how we're programmed. We're programmed to forget the wisdom of the elder. We have to start remembering that the elders have a lot to say, and they do help out.
Let me ask you, Woody, while I've got you here and while we're waiting on City Council, that's where I feel like I think it was about a week ago, we had a couple of people on who represented a collaborative between University of Penn and Temple University. It's been going on for quite a long time. They've been doing it since since like 1988, 1989. It's this intergenerational initiative. It's created for the purpose of elderly or seniors in Philadelphia, and matching them up with undergraduate, graduate students at those universities, to provide, some sort of some level of elder care and support, just companionship. And so, they talked about during pandemic how they've created a system to make sure that our elders or the community elders that are participating in this program, it's free for them to participate in it. The name of it escapes me at the moment, but they were describing how they had diligently went about creating an infrastructure, whether it was kind of meeting them in the middle, like, if they weren't linked up by a computer or by technology, okay, well, phone is their primary vehicle of communication right now, or if they do. So they were very deliberate and intentional about that. And I'm like, well, like, what's going on with our community? Like, so I feel like, we as a community need to be creating the infrastructure for our elders to
You got it.
plug into activities like City Council Live. What I've found is that there is sort of citywide resignation and kind of the shrug, or people occasionally, I'm not saying you, but people occasionally, sort of getting irritated at me saying, hey, you should participate in public comment period. Well, well, there are a lot of senior folks out there who can't do that. Okay, well, where are all these, this is why I keep asking about this vast ecosystem of nonprofit groups, community organizations, civic organizations, churches. Everybody should have already been planning or resurrecting or putting together, pulling together some sort of infrastructure, just like that organization did. And I know it's Penn and Temple, so they got a little bit of resources to do that. But collectively, we can have those kinds of resources. We know who our elders are. We know where they live. We can identify them.
And all you
so
got to do is
to me, it's incumbent upon, like, where is black clergy on that? Like, black clergy, for example, should be doing that and saying, hey, let's set up a program to make sure that, like, when it comes to technology or certain types of events and activities that people need to plug into because of pandemic, let's make sure that our elders are not left behind the same way, the same intentional way this organization did. And I don't hear anybody doing that. I hear a lot of people fussing about how, and I agree, that, like, how our elders are unplugged in a moment like this. Well, what y'all going to do about it? Because the elders can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. I mean, like,
well,
what y'all going to do about it?
Think about this. Technology has moved so fast
I hear you.
that the elder it's a form of depression. You create depression, and it's overwhelming.
It is very overwhelming. So that's where we step in as younger folks with these organizations. I don't know what these organizations do, and they get money to do these things. Well, that's where we step in, and then we help the elders along.
Okay, let's do it.
And how we plug them. See, I don't hear that happening. I don't hear any plans for that.
Let's do it, Charles. That's what I say to you. Let's do it, and you can involve my barbershop. That's why I've been trying to get you to come by. We share a lot with the younger people from the elders, and when wisdom and knowledge come together, they create an explosion called understanding. You can't know where you're going.
I hear you, Woody, and I agree with you. But I'm saying that there are organizations already in place who get grants, who get foundation dollars, who get city money to do things like this. There are already churches in operation. It's I feel like we don't even need to reinvent the wheel here. It's just like, well, what are y'all doing? Like, you're already in place. You're already in a position. They already have the expertise. We don't even have the expertise, Woody, to do something like this, even though we have the spirit and the passion to encourage people to do something like this. But that's why I wonder. I'm like, well, what are all these groups that are tasked to do these things, to create that kind of community infrastructure? I'm like, what? Some of these organizations just sitting around getting paid. And I'm like, enough already. Like, get to work. If an organization like that can understand that, hey, during pandemic, we got to make sure that this constituency, this group of people we serve, is plugged in, then we should be able to do it. And I let her explain that to me too last week when I had her on during the citizen segment, and I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. We could be doing that too. like, where are all the black churches at? Where are all these community groups at? Like, y'all could be done. We could have been done that. Still, okay, council is on. Hey, Woody, thanks for calling. And thanks for taking on my rant. Philadelphia City Council is on. You're going to hear the voice of Philadelphia City Council President Darrell Clark.
We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meeting and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notice that was published in the Daily News, Enquirer, and the Legal Intelligencer prior to the meeting, and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note the hour has come. The clerk will please call the roll to take attendance. Members that are in attendance will indicate that they are present or whatever they may choose to say to make sure that their image is displayed on the screen. Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. In the city of Philadelphia, I am present.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues in the city of Philadelphia. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Dom.
Morning, Council President and colleagues and the Philadelphians.
Good morning, Council.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Philadelphia. Present.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Philadelphia.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Great to have this first council session of autism acceptance and awareness.
Awesome. Good morning, Councilman.
Councilwoman Gem.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, Council President, and good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Johnson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Calling for justice for all of our young people who lost their lives to senseless gun violence.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, viewing public.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Councilman.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues, and thank you, Reverend Bonnie, for joining us this morning in prayer.
Good morning, Councilwoman.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues present.
Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning, Councilman.
Council President Clark.
Good morning, and good morning to all. We're going to get started. Today, to give our invocation, the chair recognizes the Reverend Bonnie Camarada at the Salvation Army. She is here today as the guest of Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez. I will ask all members and guests to please bow your head for the invocation.
You're on mute, Reverend Bonnie.
Good, thank you. I'm trying to let you know, God say he never changes. His word and eternal plan for mankind, for us, won't waver either. As believers, he compels us to stand on his promises and lean not on our own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. He will be with each one of you as you lean in his promise and you make decisions for our city. Father, we just thank you because you are the center in our city. We believe that you can change things. We believe that you have a plan even now for our city. Father, when we come to you and ask you to lift these violence challenges that we are having, the justice that needs to happen among our young people, the killing that doesn't make sense. You see it all, but we need help. And we ask you, Lord, to help us define how to really solve this issue. How do we get justice for our neighborhood? How do we bring peace, love to our neighborhood? Father, we just want to thank you because we know that we have promised that you are with us and that you don't leave us and forsake us. And we need to really that promise for the city of Philadelphia, that you haven't left our city, that you are here and that you are here to change us and the city to be better. We just thank you, Lord, for the gift that you have given to each of these council persons, the gift that you have bestowed on them for them to be able to rule our city with equity, justice, and love. And we thank you all this in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Reverend. We really appreciate you, and we miss you. God bless.
I miss you all. Thank you for allow me. Councilman Quinones Sanchez, thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 25th, 2021, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 25th, 2021 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 25th, 2021 stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the Councilwoman. Our next order of business is communication. And Mr. Decker, will you please read the messages from the mayor and any other communications that you may have in your possession?
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, pursuant to sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am today transmitting to the council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 210159 and 210135. And I am pleased to advise you that on March 29, 2021, I signed the following bills, which were passed by council at its session on March 18, 2021. Bill numbers 200628, 210075, 210122A, and 210160. And I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into a sublease agreement with Chestnut Street Realty Limited Partnership for use by the city of a portion of the premises located at 1327 through 1329 Chestnut Street. And an ordinance authorizing the Procurement Commissioner to enter into a contract for the construction of a sewer and appurtenant work required to provide public sewer service in the 1600 block of Olive Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And by way of a reminder, we're asking that all resolutions, including privilege resolutions, be placed on the final passage calendar for the next session of council unless they are being referred to committee. In our current remote environment, this procedure will provide an appropriate opportunity for public comment. So I want to thank you in advance for your anticipated cooperation. The clerk will please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by the members.
Councilwoman Parker offers one bill and one resolution. A bill on behalf of Council President and entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Procurement Commissioner to enter into a contract for the construction of a sewer and appurtenant work required to provide public sewer service in the 1600 block of Olive Street.
For the committee.
And a resolution authorizing, and on her own behalf, a resolution authorizing the Committee on Law and Government to hold hearings examining the decision to permanently move sheriff sales online, and further to explore the ramifications of and any unintended consequences that may arise from this decision.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on today, I am introducing a resolution that is sponsored by 15 members of City Council, which authorizes the Committee on Law and Government to hold hearings examining the decision to permanently move sheriff sales online, and further to explore the ramifications of and any unintended consequences that may arise from this decision. For the benefit of the viewing public, Mr. President, I want them to know that sheriff sales resumed virtually on Tuesday using a firm called Bid for Assets. And while the sheriff's office now says the move to virtual sales is in fact a pilot instead of a permanent move, the questions contained in the resolution remain. Those questions include, but are not limited to, how the contract with Bid for Assets came about and the terms of the contract. How will postponements and stays be communicated to Bid for Assets as necessary to avoid improper sales? How will the online sales process impact interested bidders with limited technological capabilities? How will online sales process impact local, non-professional bidders? How will bidders be made aware of what we know as the right of redemption for tax foreclosure sales and other post-sale rights of prior owners and occupants? And how can we ensure that Philadelphia is not flooded with out-of-city and out-of-state speculators? Now, Mr. President, the Sheriff's Office has said that the new system would increase the pace and profitability of sheriff sales. And I know some may view that as a positive, but City Council has the right to explore the other potentially negative side of the coin, namely just how much will the pace increase and whether the promise of increased profitability will actually benefit homeowners. I know my colleagues share my concern that if the process changes too much and just too quickly, that it could possibly accelerate and further exacerbate negative trends such as homeowner displacement, neighborhood instability, and a proliferation of investor-owned rental properties. The decision to take sheriff sales virtual could have a much larger land use implications beyond just individual owners. And we need to understand just how this new system will impact both homeowners and the neighborhoods in which they live. Again, for the benefit of the viewing public, please note that this hearing is scheduled for April 21st at 1 p.m. Again, that's April 21st at 1 p.m. If anyone is interested in testifying at this hearing, I encourage you to reach out to Rachel Meadows in my office at 215-686-2064. Again, that's 215-686-2064. I thank you all, and I also want to note for the record that the City Council of Philadelphia found out about this virtual move. Many of us, I know this was the case in my instance, in an article that was produced by WHYY. We were not a part of that decision making. We were not consulted that it was actually happening. We have had many conversations with Sheriff Bilal, and I do want to thank her for the record. We tagged, phone tagged, and we had a meeting on Teams and communicated multiple times over the last few weeks about this issue, and I look forward to getting as many questions answered as possible when we have this hearing. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I believe Councilman Dom, did you have a word to say?
That's only on when my bill comes up, that's all.
Your bill, I'm sorry. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, that will be on today's calendar. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson offers one resolution recognizing and supporting the health and wellness of Black mamas and birthing people by acknowledging April 11 through 17, 2021 as Black Maternal Health Week.
Thank you. That will be on next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gim offers one resolution entitled the resolution urging the United States Senate to pass Senate Bill 1306. The Protecting the Right to Organize Act of 2019, also known as the PRO Act, and affirming the right of workers to form unions and organize for higher wages, family-sustaining benefits, as well as safety, dignity, and respect at their workplace.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Heenan offers two bills entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to acquire fee simple title or a lesser real estate interest from Pennsylvania Department of Transportation to all or a portion of a parcel or parcels of land bordered by Richmond Street to the northwest, Wheatsheaf to the east-northeast, I-95 to the west, and the Northeast Treatment Plant to the southeast for water treatment or supply purposes.
Further committee.
And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to acquire fee simple title or a lesser interest in real estate by purchase, dedication, donation, condemnation, agreement in lieu of condemnation, or otherwise, in parcels of land along the Delaware River and the Tacony-Holmesburg section of the Delaware River Trail.
Further committee.
Councilman Jones offers two resolutions. Entitled a resolution recognizing and honoring James Harry Calamia for his exceptional service to the Roxborough community as the Executive Director of the Roxborough Development Corporation.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Keir Bradford Gray for her outstanding, impactful, and incomparable service to the city and its citizens as Chief Defender of the Defender Association of Philadelphia, and congratulating her on her new role as partner at Montgomery, McCracken, Walker, and Rhodes.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Johnson offers one resolution calling upon the United States Congress to support the Biden administration's American Jobs Plan, a multi-trillion-dollar plan to invest in American infrastructure and jobs over the next 8 years.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Green offers three resolutions entitled a resolution recognizing April 2021 as Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia and commending the Eagles Autism Foundation and Divine Providence Village for their vaccination initiative.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing and congratulating Gail Harrity for her 24 years of dedicated, effective, and transformative leadership as President and Chief Operating Officer of the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing and celebrating mental health partnerships on the 70th anniversary of the organization's founding.
Also on next week's calendar.
Councilman Dom offers three bills. Entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 192600 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes, by changing the manner of imposition.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending Chapter 192600 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes, by revising certain tax rates.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending Chapter 191500 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax, by revising certain tax rates.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Don. That bill is referred to committee. Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to make a few remarks today about the tax reform legislative package I'm introducing as we plan for the upcoming budget conversations. Our city faces a challenging, unique moment in time. We can use this moment to continue down the same path we've been on, or we can take bold actions to help change the trajectory of Philadelphia. In proposing these three bills today, I hope to start a much needed and important conversation about reopening our economy and about how we grow into the future. This includes creating more family sustaining jobs for our residents, helping our small and medium-sized businesses, and overall how we make Philadelphia an attractive place to live, work, and do business. Now's the time to examine what's working and what's not working. We need to explore how we get the desired results we all want and need for Philadelphians. This crisis is an opportunity for change and tax reform that can restart our economy and benefit our residents and businesses for years to come into the future. Our present crisis will not allow us to continue to tolerate having one of the highest tax burdens among the largest U.S. cities while having the lowest employment rate per 1,000 residents. We need to create an attractive environment for businesses, workers, and families to grow here and locate here. This is especially true for all those small and mid-sized businesses that are already here and have been deeply affected by the pandemic. They are our backbone. They've been loyal to our city, and we appreciate each and every business in our city that has stayed despite the many forces working against them. This pandemic has highlighted, if not magnified, the difficulties that come with bringing back demand to the city. Every business is faced with staying and paying complicated and higher tax rates, or moving sometimes across the street and paying less. In a post-pandemic world, and as technology continues to advance, the ease of working anywhere will only become more prevalent. And if we continue to tax what moves, which is people and their jobs, the more volatile our tax base will become. We have to have a serious conversation about the precarious situation we find ourselves in this year and what it means for the future of Philadelphia. When you can live and work anywhere, we need to compete for demand in Philadelphia. Philadelphia must become more competitive in the region and across major U.S. cities by attracting people and fostering job growth. That is why part of my tax reform package includes lowering the wage tax rates for residents and non-residents at a faster pace than previously proposed. The rest of the tax package addresses what my colleagues and I have heard in several council hearings over the last several years from experts around the country. We have heard that we are the only city in the United States that taxes net income and gross receipts. And we've also heard that of the top 20 cities in the United States, we have the second highest corporate income tax rate for companies. New York is number one at 17.2%, and Philadelphia is number two at 16.2%, while the other 18 cities are all below the 10% threshold. And if you haven't seen it yet, SEPTA is committing capital to a light rail system to King of Prussia. If we do not see this as a potential threat to our competitiveness in the region and future job growth for our city, then we're not paying attention. These next two bills address those issues by reducing the tax burden to allow businesses to pay the higher of either the net income or gross receipts portion of the business income and receipts tax. This will eliminate the requirement to pay both and place us on a more level playing field compared to the other cities in the United States. And lastly, the proposed reform package reduces the net income portion of the business income and receipts tax, the tax at 16.2, by more than half over the next 10 years, again, to ensure our competitiveness among U.S. cities and within the region. I think we can expand our tax base faster if we start thinking with a job growth mindset. And given the stimulus packages we're seeing from President Biden's administration, I am hopeful that with all of these things working together in tandem, we can all achieve our goals. As we move forward in these discussions, I hope we all consider and appreciate our need to be more competitive. Philadelphia isn't an island, and people and businesses have more choices than ever before. Competition has never been greater than right now, and we can do this. The current budget, which has increased by $1 billion over the last 5 years, has made minimal investment in our tax structure in order to expand our tax-paying base. In a hearing last week, we saw and heard that for this increase in spending, we weren't made safer, and we made no meaningful dent in the level of poverty for Philadelphia. I'd like to explore with all of you how we take revenue growth and dedicate funds to Philadelphia's Poverty Fund and violence prevention programs to continue to tackle these primary issues in our city. The goal of these bills is to create an open dialogue and start thinking outside the box to reform our tax structure. I plan to engage everyone in this conversation, and it's important that we take this rare opportunity to think about what we do in order to alter the city's current trajectory. This is a moment in time. It's an opportunity for us to reopen our economy with a pro-jobs tax program that will create a stronger economic tax-paying base for the future of our city, which will generate the funds we need and help our residents climb out of poverty and fund violence prevention programs we desperately need. I look forward to working with all of you as we move this discussion forward. Thank you for your time, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you. As said earlier, all those bills will be referred to the appropriate committee. Mr. Decker, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. President. Councilman Thomas offers two resolutions entitled a resolution calling on the Pennsylvania State Senate and House of Representatives to grant Philadelphia the ability to provide needed regulatory relief to local bars, restaurants, and other liquor licensees. Regulatory relief in the form of extended bar hours and increased happy hours will allow establishments hit hard by state and local coronavirus-related closures and capacity restrictions to make a full recovery and preserve thousands of local jobs.
Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to put an emphasis on the bill. Right now, we're in a space and time where we are really trying to reimagine what the new normal would look like as we hopefully are at the tail end of this coronavirus crisis. And so we are going to be strong advocates as it relates to collaborating, partnering, and also demanding from our state to have a few more options as it relates to what we can do and how we can support businesses here in the city of Philadelphia. So thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues who co-sponsored this legislation. And I look forward to some action from our state legislator. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. That will be on next week's calendar.
Councilman Thomas also offers a resolution honoring and congratulating the West Catholic Preparatory High School girls basketball team, the Ladybirds, on winning the school's first ever PIAA state title against Mohawk with a 67-56 victory.
That will be on next week's calendar.
Councilman O'Neill offers 7 bills entitled an ordinance establishing a no truck parking and tow-away zone regulations on Haldeman Avenue, both sides from Clark Street to Red Line Road, and an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away zone regulations on Tomlinson Road, both sides from Bustleton Avenue to Lindsay Street, and an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away zone regulations on Brookmont Road, both sides from Ferndale Street to Medway Road, and an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away zone regulations on Bridle Road, both sides from Brookmont Road to Bartlett Street, and an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away zone regulations on Chesworth Road, both sides from Berea Road to Ferndale Street, and an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away zone regulations on Ferndale Street, both sides from Jean Street to Red Line Road, and an ordinance establishing no truck parking and tow-away zone regulations on Graymont Street, both sides from Jean Street to Ferndale Street.
Thank you. Those 7 bills will be referred to the appropriate committee.
Councilman Squilla offers 2 bills and 2 resolutions entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with Chestnut Street Realty Partners Limited Partnership for use by the city of a portion of the premises located at 1327 through 1329 Chestnut Street.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending Title 9 of the Philadelphia Code by amending Section 9203 related to street vendors by prohibiting street vending on certain portions of East Passyunk Avenue and surrounding areas.
For the committee.
And a resolution to bring to Philadelphia the main celebrations of the 250th anniversaries of the Navy and Marine Corps.
Be on next week's calendar.
And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the New Kensington Fishtown urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 1824 East Huntington Street.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Bass offers 4 resolutions entitled a resolution authorizing the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs to hold hearings on the City of Philadelphia's landmarks and monuments review process to propose changes to any landmarks or monuments in Philadelphia that are reminders or symbols of racism or bigotry while elevating the city's rich history and diversity.
Next week's calendar. This week's calendar.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council to hold hearings on the lack of diversity and inclusion on corporate boards in Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing April 24, 2021 as the 20th National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day to provide a safe and effective option for the disposal of unwanted, unused, or expired controlled substances, and to minimize the incidence of drug abuse and fatal overdoses in the city due to non-medical prescription drugs found in the homes of family and friends.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvement thereon, situated in the 8th Councilmanic District.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman O offers 4 resolutions entitled a resolution calling on the School District of Philadelphia to help combat anti-Asian hate by providing Asian American history lessons during Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in May to further educate and inform students of the rich history and contributions of Asian Americans.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring and congratulating Dr. Carmen Febo on the longtime executive director of Taller Puertorriqueño Incorporated on the occasion of her upcoming retirement.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Paul S. Beedman, the longtime president and CEO of Avenue of the Arts Incorporated, for his years of service in strengthening Philadelphia's internationally recognized arts and culture scene upon the occasion of his upcoming retirement.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing QFlix Philadelphia, the largest LGBTQ plus film festival in the Mid-Atlantic region, and its parent organization, QFlix USA, and calling on Facebook to unlock the organization's QFlix Worcester account.
Also on the next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered by the members today, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions by the members. And our next order of business is reports from committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Green for a report from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Council President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill number 210139.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Please read the report.
I'm sorry, Council President. I went too early. I meant to say the following statement. Thank you, Council President. The Committee on Finance reports out one bill with a favorable recommendation.
We got you. We figured it. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
To the President, to members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Finance, which is referred bill number 210139, entitled an ordinance amending chapter 19500 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Taxes and Rents General, by adding required conditions and information for reporting adjustments to taxable income. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Green.
All right, thank you. I'll say it again. Thank you, Council President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill number 210139.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 210139. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. This bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a report from the Committee on Labor and Civil Service.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Labor and Civil Service reports out one bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
The Committee on Labor and Civil Service, to which is referred bill number 200625, entitled an ordinance amending Title 9 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions, by adding a new chapter 94700 to prohibit employers from requiring prospective employees to undergo testing for the presence of marijuana as a condition of employment. Respectfully reports it as considered and amended the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill number 200625.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 200625. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And this bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our next order of business consideration of the calendar. I note that the bill just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading, and these bills will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of bills and resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following resolutions on the final passage calendar today. They are resolution numbers 210251, 210253, 210254, 210255, 256, 210258, 210259, 210260, 210261, 210262, 210263, 210264, 210265, 210266, 210268, 210270, 210271, 210272, and 210273.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the resolutions just read by Councilwoman Parker. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion carries. Consider the resolution consent agenda shortly. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the resolutions being considered on the consent agenda, the following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 210267, 210078, 210079, 210001, 210002, 210118, 210119, 210135, 210136, 210178, 210179, 210180, and 210137. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you. Before we proceed with the consideration of our public comment, we're going to take a brief 5 to 10 minute break to allow our technology professionals to tee everyone up for the speaker we had today's meeting.
All right, we are back here at City Council Live. City Council right now just taking a very brief, very momentary break to set up for public comment. So let's see what we have in the public comment period. That is the open period where residents have signed up to offer their thoughts, their perspective, whether or not they disagree with, whether they agree or disagree with bills that have been introduced, resolutions that have been introduced in the Philadelphia City Council. You have been listening to City Council Live here on WURD Live. We are on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, and WURD app. On social media, we are at hashtag City Council Live. That's hashtag City Council Live on social media, especially on Twitter, where you can start some conversation there, particularly if you're listening into City Council Live now. We'll open up the phone lines while, typically it takes around 10 minutes or so. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900, in case you'd like to call in now, discuss what you just heard. We did hear earlier on, we heard Council Majority Leader Sherelle Parker, who also represents the 9th Council District, introducing legislation or a resolution to encouraging the council to hold hearings to examine the decision by the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office to move sheriff's sales permanently online. So there's been a bit of controversy surrounding that. Obviously, Councilwoman Parker has some concerns about that, what that might mean, what that means in terms of the folks who have access to that kind of technology to conduct those sales. So we'll talk a little bit about that, I'm sure, maybe after this quick break, which we're going to take right now.
COVID vaccines are here, and Black physicians and scientists help to develop them. So I feel good about getting the vaccine. And with new forms of the virus now spreading, I know we need to keep up everything we're already doing. Masking up, keeping that 6-foot distance, and avoiding crowds. COVID's been doubly tough on us, so let's double down to take it down. We can do this. Learn more about getting the vaccine and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet, hold on. Whew, but it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
Tune in this Sunday at 2 p.m. for the Gastrology Conversation Show, providing information and understanding about your colon health with Dr. Stephen Blake.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now there are vaccines, and they are the first step that lets us get back to the things we miss most, like spreading the word without spreading concern, girls tripping instead of solo sipping, and talking smack with the side of mac and cheese. It's okay to have questions about COVID-19 vaccines. Now, get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. Now check Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
Okay, we're back at it here on City Council Live. You know, that's Reality Check Thursdays here on WURD 96.1 FM 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, WURD app. Phone lines are open at the moment while we're waiting on City Council to come back with the public comment period. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on City Council Live. Appreciate that comment from Tanya Bell, who's watching us on WURD TV on our Facebook live stream. And Tanya Bell saying, a listener, viewer, Tanya Bell saying, Charles is right. This is the earlier conversation I was having with Woody before City Council came on. There are a lot of organizations, she says, paid and set up to help seniors. For example, Philadelphia Corporation for Aging, PCA Cares, and the Community Senior Centers. I hope would help seniors with computer literacy. Oh, City Council is back on.
You must call 215-686-3406 by 3 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for the public comment. When you call, we will take your name, phone number, the number of the legislative item you are commenting on, and whether you are in support of or against the legislation and add you to our list. We will telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. And under ideal circumstances, they will each have 3 minutes to speak. However, this time limit may vary from session to session. Today's time limit, I think we can do 3 minutes. We want to do 3 minutes today. In order to be fair to all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. So once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started. We will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony, and when there are 30 seconds remaining to your time, you will be reminded of this. Once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks, and shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. I also reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made on the same matter, and to limit the scope of the testimony to only certain items on the agenda during the emergency, which could affect callbacks and the public comment at the meeting. So please be aware that this public meeting is also being recorded. Because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So by continuing to be in this meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I would now ask that the Chief Clerk please read the name of our first speaker.
Ana Martinez Donate, commenting on 210-273.
Good morning. Just, state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hello, good morning. My name is Ana Martinez Donate, and I am a professor at the Dornside School of Public Health at Drexel University. And I am also the lead convener of the Latino Health Collective.
Please proceed.
I'm here to support Councilmember Bass's resolution 2010-27-3. And I would like to use this time to highlight some of the health issues that have disproportionate impact on the health of Latino communities in Philadelphia and that need to be addressed to promote their health. Latinos represent 15% of the overall population in our city in a very diverse community. About 61% are from Puerto Rico, while 21% are from Mexico, Central America, and South America. Latinos are afflicted by a myriad of social determinants of health. This population has the highest rates of poverty and unemployment in our city. They also face numerous barriers to health care services because they have the lowest rate of health insurance. They are more likely to live in areas with high levels of social vulnerability, especially in the Northeast and South Philadelphia areas. And these are often areas that experience higher levels of poverty and crime, access to services. Furthermore, 1 in 5 Latinos in our city is foreign, 2/3 are non-citizens. All limits, importantly, their ability to access services. Not surprisingly, given these factors, Latinos have worse self-reported health than any other groups in Philadelphia. They are overrepresented among new cases of HIV, opioid-related deaths, depression, and homicide mortality. And these are systemic issues or interrelated epidemics that are driven by common social, economic, and political factors such as poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and immigration status. The recent pandemic has exposed the impact of these social disadvantages on Latino communities. Latinos in Philadelphia have experienced the second highest rate of infection with COVID-19, second only after African Americans. And their hospitalization and mortality rates are 2 to 4 times greater compared to non-Hispanic whites. Latinos have experienced persistent barriers to testing and vaccination for COVID. For example, only 16% of Latinos have received a dose of COVID-19 vaccination compared to 32% of non-Hispanic whites. But despite these challenges, Latinos are a very resilient community who contributes immensely to our city. They are owners to close to 20,000 businesses in the greater Philadelphia area, and about a third of them work as essential workers. During this pandemic, our city has relied on many of our Latino residents to produce, prepare, pack, and deliver the foods we consume, to take care of our children, to sanitize our homes and workplaces. The health disparities affecting Latinos in Philadelphia need your urgent attention and support. It is imperative to direct efforts and resources to address the social, economic, and political factors behind these inequities. The city must act to increase education and economic opportunities, expand access to health and human services, and enhance the ability of Latinos and Latinas to thrive in our city. Investments in the health and well-being of Latinos will make us all stronger and benefit our city as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Amy Carol Scott, commenting on 210273.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony. Miss Carol Scott. Ms. Scott, are you connected? Mr. Decker, go on to the next person.
Hello, this is Amy.
Oh, you got it. Okay. Yeah, just state your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Okay, great. My name is Dr. Amy Carol Scott, and I'm an associate professor at the Drexel Dornsife School of Public Health. I'm also a longtime member and leader in the American Public Health Association, and so I'm deeply involved in that organization's work to translate national public health priorities into local action to improve health in communities. And so I would like to express my support for Councilwoman Bass's resolution number 210273. As I think there's no better time to shine the spotlight of National Public Health Week on public health issues locally. The global COVID-19 pandemic and the co-occurring epidemic of gun violence has further revealed the gaps in our public health systems. To respond to such threats to the health of all Philadelphians, and in particular to Black, Indigenous, and other populations of color. But of course, this has not been a surprise. We've long known that social and economic characteristics put individuals, populations, and geographically defined communities at higher or lower risk of poor health outcomes. These are what we call the social determinants of health, and they include factors like poverty, unemployment, systemic racism, and living in an economically excluded or disinvested area. In fact, research continues to confirm that these factors determine about 80% of our health status and are more important than such factors as heredity and medical treatment. I say all this to emphasize the point that the way to achieve health equity in Philadelphia is to invest in the infrastructure needed for communities to better understand and create solutions that make sense within the history, culture, values, and health priorities of each community. As elected officials, city agency leaders, and research partners, we should use opportunities like National Public Health Week and its focus on building better bridges to better health, and this resolution's focus on highlighting issues to building healthier communities, to work collectively to advocate for investments in our national, state, and city public health infrastructure. But I want to emphasize an important piece of this is to also consider community systems as an essential, if not the most essential component of this infrastructure requiring investment. This means investment in community-based and faith-based organizations already serving their communities, workforce development to ensure there's a pipeline to public health jobs in these communities, and re-examining city systems to ensure they're equitably serving our most vulnerable communities and not re-stigmatizing them. And so it's for this reason that I'm in strong support of this resolution.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Thank
The
you.
next speaker is Maria Lazo, commenting on 210273.
Hello.
Good morning. Just state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Mariana Lazo, and I am professor at the Dornsife School of Public Health, Drexel University, and I have expertise in epidemiology, public health, and Latino health disparities. I am a Latina immigrant myself, and it is an honor for me to participate on this hearing today on behalf of the Latino community in Philadelphia, especially the immigrant community. Latinos represent around 15% of the population in Philadelphia. 1 in 5 Latinos are immigrants and were born outside of the U.S. The majority of Latinos have Puerto Rican ancestry, but there is a sizable number of Latinos with Dominican, Mexican, and Central American ancestry. Since the early days of the pandemic, we have observed pronounced inequities in COVID-19 testing cases, hospitalization, and mortality in Philadelphia. In every age group, hospitalization and mortality rates have been highest among Latinos and Blacks. Some of these disparities are the result of higher risk of exposure to the virus among Latinos. Here in Philadelphia, 32% of Latino workers are employed in essential occupations. Latino immigrants are disproportionately employed in jobs with more hazardous conditions, such as janitorial services and domestic labor. Furthermore, around 37% of Latinos in Philadelphia live in poverty, compared to 15% of whites. Latinos have had very limited access to relief funds or unemployment insurance, and therefore they have experienced greater pressure to continue to work. The other important source of disparities is related to increased vulnerability. Underlying social conditions lead to a concentration of biological risk factors and social determinants of health that hinder the ability of the Latino community to buffer the impact. Language, citizenship status, and immigration laws greatly limit access to healthcare among Latinos and especially Latino immigrants. Latinos have lower insurance rates and are much less likely to have primary care provider and often forego care due to the cost or fear of deportation. Multiple efforts and initiatives have been implemented in Philadelphia in order to reduce the impact of COVID-19 and the disparities on Latinos and other minorities. The Philadelphia Department of Public Health, in concert with other governmental departments, Latino serving organizations, and academic partners, including also Drexel, have embarked on significant efforts to address disparities, and we are very thankful for that. To conclude, the health disparities afflicting Latinos in Philadelphia need urgent attention and support. It is imperative to direct efforts and resources to address social, economic, political factors behind these inequities. The city must act to increase economic opportunities and expand access to health and human services, and to ultimately enhance the ability of Latinos and Latinas to thrive in our city. Investments in the health and well-being of Latinos, a group that has experienced some of the worst health outcomes in Philadelphia, but that is essential for the economy of the citizens, will make us stronger and benefit our city as a whole. I fully support this resolution put forth by Councilmember Bass to celebrate public health, highlight critical public health issues, and thank public health workers.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ryan Boyer, commenting on 210253.
Good morning. State your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hello.
Mr. Boyer?
Hello?
Yes, just state your name for the record. Proceed with your testimony.
Ryan N. Boyer.
Please proceed.
Oh, yes. Good morning. My name is Ryan N. Boyer. I'm the business manager of Labor's District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity. We are a union of over 6,000 construction, factory, public sector, and maintenance workers throughout the 5-county region of Philadelphia. I'm here to comment on resolution number 210253. I want to express my sincere thanks to Councilwoman Sherelle Parker and her colleagues for introducing this great resolution for my brother and friend, Esteban Vera Jr., who is the first Latino person to serve on SEPTA's board of directors. This is very important that we recognize the diversity and inclusion that's happening in our region and in our city. And the fact that City Council, this august body, is representing such a great human being, a Philadelphian for his total life, a veteran of the United States Army, Esteban Vera Jr., it gives me pride to be a part of the same organization that Esteban is a part of. Esteban is hardworking. He has spent his life building coalitions and creating opportunities for people that hasn't had opportunities before. I am so proud and happy that you're doing this today. And my respect has only risen by this great citation and resolution. Thank the Philadelphia City Council and congratulations to Esteban Vera on your very great accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Esteban Vera Jr.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 21543.
Okay. Good morning. Are you here with us? Modesto, you not get a pickup?
Well, we're not able to contact Esteban Vera Jr., Council President.
All right. Well, Mr. Boyer said a whole lot about him, and we concur that he's a very, very awesome person, a great labor leader, and a human being. He's done a lot of things, not only for the city, but for the country. So I think that's our last speaker, Mr. Decker.
It is, Mr. President.
Okay, well, we're going to move on. It's unfortunate that we can't see him up. Okay, that concludes our public comment for today. We'll now consider today's resolution on the consent agenda. I would ask Mr. Decker to read the titles of all the resolutions on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the resolution on the resolution consent agenda. Upon such an objection, and without debate, the resolution will be immediately removed from the resolution consent agenda and placed on today's regular final passage calendar. The clerk will now read the titles of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Resolution number 210251, entitled a resolution recognizing March 31, 2021 as International Transgender Day of Visibility, to celebrate transgender and gender non-conforming people around the world, raise awareness about the unique struggles and discrimination they face, and honor their resilience and success. And resolution number 210253, entitled a resolution congratulating Esteban Vera Jr. on his appointment to SEPTA's Board of Directors, making him the first Latino person to serve as the transit agency's serve on the transit agency's governing body. And resolution number 210254, entitled a resolution recognizing and congratulating Marcia L. Fudge on her confirmation to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And resolution number 210255, entitled a resolution recognizing Philly Tech Sisters on their work to diversify the tech scene in Philadelphia, with special acknowledgement to Ashley Turner for leading the group and her dedication to this effort. And resolution number 210256, entitled a resolution celebrating the selection of Jericho Brown's Pulitzer Prize-winning collection of poems, The Tradition, for the 2021 One Book, One Philadelphia program. And resolution number 210258, entitled a resolution honoring the 150th anniversary of the Philadelphia Fire Department. And resolution number 210259, entitled a resolution honoring the 250th anniversary of the Society of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. And resolution number 210260, entitled a resolution honoring and recognizing Fred Jenkins Sr. for his work as a boxing coach and youth mentor, and his retirement from Philadelphia's Parks and Recreation after 45 years of service. And resolution number 210261, entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating Diana C. Medley on the occasion of her retirement following 25 years of relentless dedication and service to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And resolution number 210262, entitled a resolution recognizing and honoring Herb Douglas, the oldest living African-American Olympic medalist, for his many life achievements on and off the track. And resolution number 210263, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 2nd Councilmanic District of the City of Philadelphia, and further authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to transfer to the Philadelphia Land Bank fee simple title to such properties pursuant to Section 16405 of the Philadelphia Code. And resolution number 210264, entitled a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Uncle Bip Bernard, Dean of the Philadelphia Democratic Party, Political Director, Chief Moral Officer, and the grandfather of the Philadelphia Democratic City Committee, for his lifelong dedication to Philadelphia politics. And resolution number 210265, entitled a resolution calling all social media companies to take a proactive role in fighting the gun violence epidemic nationwide by monitoring and removing inciting posts off platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And resolution number 210266, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2001 North Oriana Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 210268, entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating Deb Haaland on the occasion of her becoming the 54th United States Secretary of the Interior and the first Native American woman to lead a cabinet-level department, particularly one that is existential for Native tribes and people. And resolution number 210270, entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating Philadelphia's 2021 National Merit Scholarship Competition Program semifinalists. 38 students from 9 of Philadelphia schools were named as semifinalists in the 2021 National Merit Scholarship Competition Program, demonstrating a strong commitment to academic excellence. And resolution number 210271, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying peaceable title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 1st Councilmanic District of the City of Philadelphia, and further authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to transfer to the Philadelphia Land Bank fee simple title to such properties pursuant to Section 16405 of the Philadelphia Code. And resolution number 210272, entitled a resolution recognizing April 6, 2021 as National Library Workers Day, to honor the commitment of library workers and the unique services they provide to local communities, and to support greater compensation and equality in libraries. And resolution number 210273, entitled a resolution recognizing the week of April 5, 2021 to April 11, 2021 as National Public Health Week, to celebrate public health, highlight issues critical to building healthier communities, and thank public health workers during an especially unique year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion to adopt each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda has been adopted. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, would you please read the title of resolution number 210267?
A resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia Children's Alliance and the Philadelphia Department of Human Services for their collaborative commitment to bring healing and justice to victims of child sexual abuse in Philadelphia, and declaring April 2021 to be Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Sanchez for a motion on the resolution.
Thank you, Council President. Before I motion for this resolution, I just want to thank all of my colleagues who over the last few years have been incredibly supportive of the Philadelphia Children's Alliance's work. They have been recognized as one of the leading national standards and models of support to children. So I want to take this opportunity to thank them. I know in this new COVID reality, we don't get an opportunity to bring in some of these groups who are doing tremendous work during these very challenging times. I particularly want to thank their partners, the Philadelphia Department of Human Services, the Philadelphia Police Special Victims Unit, the District Attorney's Office, Children's Hospital, and St. Christopher's Hospital. Even during the pandemic, they did not close. They were available to our family and to our children in some of the most critical times. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, as we've seen in other cases, there's been an uptick in cases. I want to thank my colleagues in council, in particular the Committee on Children and Youth, who I know works aggressively and proactively on all these issues, including the Juvenile Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition, who has had some success in breaking down some of the challenges that we have experienced in the city. So thanks again to all my council colleagues. We are proud to host them in the 7th Councilmatic District. And as we celebrate and declare, not celebrate actually, as we declare Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I look forward to their participation as we talk about investing in young people and prevention and changing the challenges that we face as a city. I want to thank Sisler Media and all its team for reminding us that throughout the pandemic, people have faced incredible challenges, but we have a team of experts who have made themselves available. Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably seconded the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 210078.
An ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising and clarifying certain provisions and making technical changes.
You recognize this Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez for an amendment to Bill number 210078.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank all of my colleagues who worked with us in putting this bill forward and the amendments that have been circulated today to the rest of the colleagues. So I would like to offer an official amendment to Bill number 210078, which has been circulated to all members, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Thank you. In favor of the motion, will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Aye. And Bill number 210078 has been amended. Bill number 210078 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill number 210079.
An ordinance authorizing the Philadelphia Municipal Authority and the Philadelphia Gas Works by Philadelphia Facilities Management Corporation, solely in its capacity as operator and manager of the city-owned Philadelphia Gas Works, to enter into certain transactions and contracts regarding the lease and license of portions of the premises located at 5000 Somerdale Avenue and 5501 Whitaker Avenue for the use of Philadelphia Gas Works.
Thank you. This bill having been read on 2 different days. The question now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gauthier. Aye. Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Woman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilman O.
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of all members having voted in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 210001.
An ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Dexter Street and Lacayette Avenue and Green Lane, Baker Street and Levington Avenue, Apple Street and Shores Lane, Boone Street and Marple Street and Roxborough Avenue, Conroe Street and Pekin Street, and Mitchell Street.
Thank you. This bill having been read on 2 different days. The question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilman O.
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kiruna Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes. Ayes are 17, nays are 0. Majority of all members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 210002.
An ordinance amending section 2 of an ordinance, bill number 140902, approved March 4, 2015, entitled, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades of the portion of city plan numbers 224 and 232 by striking from the city plan and vacating Cayuga Street from Whitaker Avenue towards terminus eastwardly therefrom, by extending the period for compliance with the terms and conditions stated therein.
Thank you. This bill having been read on 2 different days. The question now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilman O.
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kiruna Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of all members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 210118.
An ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Manton Street and South 18th Street and South 16th Street and South 21st Street, South 20th Street and Ellsworth Street, Carlisle Street and Wharton Street and Tasker Street, Titan Street and South 16th Street and South 18th Street.
Thank you. This bill having been read on 2 different days. The question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Heenan.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilman O.
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kiruna Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. The ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of all members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 210119.
An ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of South 15th Street and Reed Street, South 19th Street and Reed Street, South 18th Street and Federal Street, South 18th Street and Morris Street, Wharton Street and South 22nd to South 17th Street, Ellsworth Street and South 22nd Street, Morris Street and South 17th Street.
Thank you. This bill having been read on 2 different days. The question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Aye.
Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim,
Aye.
Councilman Heenan,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman O,
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker,
Aye.
Councilwoman Kinnerly Sanchez,
Aye.
Councilman Squilla,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of the members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, bill number 210135.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9208 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Cafes and Title 4, Subcode A of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Use Registration Permits by adding new provisions allowing restaurants applying for a sidewalk cafe permit or temporary lot uses permit to allow outdoor entertainment.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for an amendment to bill number 210135.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer an amendment to bill number 210135. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. Bill number 210135 has been amended, and bill number 210135 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at the next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 210136.
An ordinance authorizing the procurement commissioner to enter into a contract for the construction of a sewer and appurtenant work required to provide public sewer service in the unit block of Osborne Street.
Thank you. This bill having been read on 2 different days. The question now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks,
Aye.
Councilman Dom,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gauthier,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim,
Aye.
Councilman Heenan,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman O,
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker,
Aye.
Councilwoman Kinnerly Sanchez,
Aye.
Councilman Squilla,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of all members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 210178.
An ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on both sides of Frontenac Street from Levick Street to Devereaux Avenue.
This bill had been read on 2 different days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks,
Aye.
Councilman Dom,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gauthier,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim,
Aye.
Councilman Heenan,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman O,
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker,
Aye.
Councilwoman Kinnerly Sanchez,
Aye.
Councilman Squilla,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of all members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 210179.
An ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on Hammond Avenue between East Nedrow Avenue and Crescentville Road.
This bill had been read on 2 different days. The question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks,
Aye.
Councilman Dom,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gauthier,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim,
Aye.
Councilman Heenan,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman O,
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez,
Aye.
Squilla,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of all members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 210-180.
An ordinance amending section 9213 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Farmers Markets by adding a permissible location.
This bill having been read on 2 different days, the question is now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks,
Aye.
Councilman Dom,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim,
Aye.
Councilman Heenan,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman O,
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez,
Aye.
Councilman Squilla,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of all members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title 210-137.
An ordinance amending Title 22 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Public Employees Retirement Code by creating an early retirement program for certain employees working in or with the Department of Commerce Aviation Division.
This bill having been read on 2 different days, the question now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks,
Aye.
Councilman Dom,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim,
Aye.
Councilman Heenan,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Jones,
Aye.
Councilman O,
Aye.
Councilman O'Neill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez,
Aye.
Councilman Squilla,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas,
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution authorizing the Committee on Law and Government to hold hearings examining the decision to permanently move sheriff sales online, and further to explore the ramifications of and any unintended consequences that may arise from this decision, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs to hold hearings on the City of Philadelphia's landmarks and monuments review process to propose changes to any landmarks or monuments in Philadelphia that are reminders or symbols of racism or bigotry, while elevating the city's rich history and diversity, introduced by Councilwoman Bass.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council to hold hearings on the lack of diversity and inclusion on corporate boards in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Bass.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. That completes our calendar for today. But prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available in Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this particular purpose. So that said, there speeches on behalf of the minority. There appears to be none. Speech on the behalf of the majority. Chair
Mr. President.
Yes.
President, the council member O is in the box.
Oh, okay, just popped up. Thank you. I'm on delay over here. I got to check that out. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Majority Leader. I actually just did that. I was a little late there. But I just wanted to recognize the film in Philadelphia, Concrete Cowboy, directed by Ricky Staub right here in Philadelphia. A lot of the folks at Fletcher Street Stables, the Philadelphia Riding Academy, are actually featured in the film. And of course, we just gave a resolution. We passed it for Michael O.G. Law to bond for his work, love over hate, education over incarceration, all he does to fight gun violence. Wow, what a great job he did acting. He was menacing. It really came through the screen. So, all good stuff, and really appreciate, what film does to educate people about our history, our culture, our diversity. I learned a few things, and I hope everybody will watch and support the film. It's on Netflix, so please check it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I must say that on a personal note, I'm a little excited about the film because the house that the horse lived in is on the block that I grew up on.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, my little brother, he got wind of it. And he sent me a text and said, yes, Miss Emma's house is in the movie, right? And that was the lady's name in the house. Yeah, pretty significant. Thank you, Councilman. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. Just a couple of things. I'm going to try to be brief. First, I want to start by thanking the Arts and Culture Task Force for the resolution that was introduced earlier today for their great work. I'm looking forward to working with them more as it relates to recommendations that came out of the Arts and Culture Task Force report that was circulated through council. I'm also looking forward to Arts and Culture Recovery Week this summer, as we really want folks to know that Philadelphia is open for business. I also want to take a minute to thank my council member and Councilmember Parker and our leader here as it relates to our team on council, one of our leaders as it relates to our team on council, for the work that's being done with the sheriff's sale. I like other members of council, are extremely concerned around this idea of moving to digital, some of the guidelines and requirements that's coming in order to participate. I think it's really alarming. And I think right now, when we're looking at where we are as a city, where we are with our economy, I just can't agree with us moving in that direction. So I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my colleagues, as well as the other 13 members of council who decided to sign on to that letter. I also want to take a moment to say thank you. About 2 weeks ago, high school sports season ended. And there was only a high school sports season because of this council body right here. And while we are in the midst of a number of pandemics, including this gun violence crisis that we're trying to fight on a daily basis, we will never know how many lives we saved by allowing them young people to participate in athletic and extracurricular activity over the last 2 months. We talked today about honoring West Catholic girls basketball team. Had we not put ourselves in a position for young people to participate in extracurricular activity, that institution would not have won its first state championship. Council members had to step up to the plate in order to put us in a position to work with the health department as well as the multiple leagues to be able to make that happen. So I want to thank you, Council President, for your leadership. I want to say a huge thank you to the chair of our education committee, Councilmember Maria Keone Sanchez, as well as my colleague, Councilmember Mark Squilla, who even had Ann from his staff serve on the oversight committee along with members of my team to collect film to make sure that if there were any outbreaks at any time, we were able to identify what took place and be able to do the contact tracing. But even in the midst of thinking about that, a kid like Jimmy King, who's Ann's son, who was a senior this year, he had a phenomenal year, a year that he'll probably remember for the rest of his life. Thinking about kids like him and kids like Samir Priester, who again was a senior whose junior year got cut off. And had we not fought for young people to participate in athletic activity, these young people would have never had an opportunity to touch high school sports again, ever. And honestly, that is something that I know I would have regretted, and I know them and their parents would have regretted as well, too. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who was involved in that process, because without it being a team effort led by this council body, we would not have had a winter sports season for our young people. And that's, again, something that's needed. The last thing I want to say as I close out, right now we're trying to fight our state partners because the state is pushing to force our teachers and our young people and our families to take PSSA standardized testing. And we know that as of last night, they backtracked and said that the testing will only take place for 3rd through 5th graders, but we still think that's wrong. We're in the midst of a global pandemic, and to put that type of pressure on young people as well as teachers, when we all as educators know that young people learn a variety of different ways. So if you're a young person who's more of a kinesthetic learner, or you need in-person learning to best maximize your intellectual ability, and you've been denied that because we're in the midst of a pandemic, how can we realistically expect you to perform to the best of your ability? And so we want to continue to fight for our children, our families, our teachers, and all stakeholders who are involved in the academic experience our young people partaking on a daily basis. And we want to make sure that we're not putting them in a position to fail. And I believe that forcing any of our students, as well as the teachers who administrate standardized testing in a year like this, is something that's unfair. And we're going to continue to fight until none of our students are forced, or our teachers are forced to participate in this level of standardized testing this academic year. Let's revisit this conversation and figure out what we can do in the fall when we are on a different side of this coronavirus pandemic. Thank you, Council President. And again, thank you to all my colleagues for your support on a number of different issues and conflicts that we have in this city.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your continued aggressive commitment to these young people in the city of Philadelphia. It's so much needed. We really appreciate it. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Council Member Thomas, for that dedicated advocacy for young people in our city in a variety of ways. It's definitely needed. And thank you for doing that through your role as a member of council. Also, I want to thank Council Member O, also now been renamed as Deacon O, and he'll know the reference to that, for Bringing Up Concrete Cowboy. Was a phenomenal film, and it really reflected the city of Philadelphia. And when you watch it, you really get the perspective of Philadelphia in that film. Just like in so many ways, Do the Right Thing captures New York in that time period, I really felt Fletcher Street and Philadelphia in that film. So it definitely was a great film and a great discussion on father and son bonding. So definitely a great film. I hope everyone gets a chance to see it. As I stated earlier, April is a great month because we start to really come out of the winter into the early throes of spring. And April is Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month. And some of you may be able to see my pin on my lapel. The pin is a puzzle piece, which is universally and internationally known as signifying autism. And, this is a great month. And it's also great here in the city of Philadelphia. And this body has been so supportive of so many things we've done regarding not only awareness, but also acceptance. And to bring some of that awareness to the viewing and listening public, some people may not know that we as a city have had a long history in providing support and resources regarding autism. In 1955, the Center for Autism was founded here in this city as a pilot at the University of Pennsylvania. And so autism is something that people have not known about for a long time, but right here in Philadelphia, we have been doing not only advocacy and service provision for young people, and also more seasoned people on the autism spectrum going back to 1955. And there's so many institutions in the city that provide outstanding services for families and individuals who are on the autism spectrum. From the Kinney Center for Autism at St. Joe's University, University of Pennsylvania has an autism clinic. Children's Hospital has a center for autism. You also have LaSalle University has a Ladder Family Center. Also for young people who are on the spectrum who want to go to college, they have options at Arcadia University and Westchester University and St. Joseph University. We have a number of outstanding developmental pediatricians in the region. And I think of the work at St. Christopher's Hospital and Children's Hospital, and think of Dr. Wendy Ross, who, working with our own airport many years ago, created the Autism in Air program, enabling young people to be able to travel, working with our Philadelphia International Airport and airlines to provide opportunities for young people to travel through flight. She's also worked with all of our major sports teams and making sure that those venues are friendly for those on the autism spectrum. So the Sixers and the Flyers and the Phillies, as well as the Eagles, making sure that those people who want to say fly, Eagles fly, can do that in a friendly setting at those sports venues. The Eagles have also stepped up by creating the Eagles Autism Foundation, where they've raised millions of dollars to help provide services and research. And we acknowledge them in a resolution introduced today and will be passed next week regarding their work to help vaccinate those on the autism spectrum, as well as their caregivers at Lincoln Financial Field. And then we also have at Drexel University, the A.J. Drexel Institute, which has worked with our own Philadelphia Autism Project that this body has supported over the years. And they provided some great programs and services. And working with the Philadelphia Autism Project, they've created the Community Autism Peer Specialist Program, or CAPS program, which has become an internationally renowned program, helping those on the autism spectrum to become peer supports for younger people on the autism spectrum and also earn employment. And that's been a program that, the Philadelphia Autism Project and Drexel, through their institute, has helped work to promote and grow, as well as our State Center for Autism and Mental Health Partnerships has been a strong part of that, as well as our own Community Behavioral Health and Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services. So we have a long and rich history here in the city of Philadelphia and the region of helping those on the autism spectrum. So I wanted to bring that awareness, and we've got to do more in reference to acceptance. And although we've had so much progress and there's so many other programs that I did not mention, we have so much more work to do. Previously, I talked about some of the challenges that I've had and shared some of my personal perspectives in raising a son on the autism spectrum, a Black man who's now a young adult. Some of you have seen him when he was very young, to now he has got some hair on his chin and little mustache and starting to feel his oats, so to say, as a young adult. But he is a Black man on the autism spectrum. And I talked about how when he was younger, taking him to school or when he's at events, we used to put a card in his book bag to let people know that, my son is on the autism spectrum and he can't communicate like others normally can communicate on various issues. And so now as a young adult, having not necessarily a book bag, but having a wallet, but having concerns that, he may not be able to communicate with those individuals as they approach him, or other type of authorities type approach him. So I know for parents, especially African-American parents, you're very familiar with the talk. Some of you, and I would say for those who are not as familiar with the talk, you should Google the talk Procter & Gamble. This is a commercial that Procter & Gamble did a little while ago that really, to me, crystallizes what the talk is in the African-American community. And I know for those on the autism spectrum, we can't really have that type of talk like other parents because of the speech and communication challenges. It makes it very difficult. So one of the fears I've often had is that as Julian becomes older and he's out and about and he's not with us, and if I've instructed him like I did when I was younger. If someone approaches you to go into your backpack to give this card, or now being a young adult, go into your wallet to provide your wallet or this card to identify the fact that you're on the autism spectrum, we don't know what would happen as he goes into his wallet and goes into his pocket to reach out and pull out something that may be viewed and seen as offensive or threatening. And so this is a fear and a challenge I've had as a father. I think it's a fear and challenge that many parents have had for some time, especially those who are African-American, who've had the talk with their children. And for those African-American parents that have a child on the autism spectrum, the challenge of not even being able to have that type of talk with their child. And so that fear really came home last week. As we were beginning to celebrate the Easter holiday weekend, we learned reports that one police officer, one former police officer were arrested last week based on an incident from August 19th of last year. At that time, both the individuals were police officers. They were off duty. And in the northeast section of our city, they chased a young man who has Asperger's, which is on the autism spectrum, based on a belief that he was involved in some type of criminal activity. During that foot chase, he was able to call his mother, and based on that call, the mother was able to hear some of the information that transpired during the foot chase. He was beat up and assaulted. After that incident, and they were off-duty officers, and they identified themselves not as officers, but part of Town Watch. After that situation, the police department started internal affairs investigation. As that started, one of the individuals retired. The internal affairs did their investigation, and based on the information we received last week, both individuals were arrested, and the other individual, who still is a police officer, is under suspension with the intent for dismissal. So when I talk about, and I've talked about this in the past, about the fears of having a child on the autism spectrum, this is the type of thing I'm talking about. These are the fears that so many parents, especially African-American parents with a child on the spectrum, have. And this demonstrates how we have so much more work to do. Now, based on the fact that he was even able to call his mother during his foot chase, is something that's somewhat remarkable. Something that could have happened where he was not able to do that. And it makes me think of so many countless situations in the history of this nation when people were taking justice into their own hands. And we've heard and seen the stories of so many situations when so many tragic things happened based on these type of situations. So we as a city have so much more work to do in reference to autism awareness and acceptance. We've had so many great institutions over the years that provided the ability for so many of us as parents to dream of the possibilities for our children. But at the same point, although we have these dreams of possibilities and we have the acceptance, awareness of these great possible outcomes for our children, we also have the acceptance and awareness of the dreams and fears of what happened on August 19th happening to our children. So we still have so much more work to do. We've come so far, but we have much more work to do. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Both personal and being a strong advocate and spokesperson for this very, very important issue. Appreciate you more than you know. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Council President. Council President, I don't know if you recall, but in 2014, I created a childhood obesity program called Philly Play. Most members were involved. They were, partners throughout the city and the rec department. I remember in 2014, partnering with you in an event in one of your rec centers, and then calling you afterwards at the end saying, I just seen two guys, two cowboys on horses coming up to the recreation center, talking to the community members, talking to the kids, engaging with them, making them feel safe. It was, well, first shockingly, right? Because who would have, I've never seen cowboys anywhere in the city of Philadelphia, let alone North Philly. And it was incredible. I'm so glad I got to witness. And although I haven't seen the film yet, I look forward to it. But it's just one of those memories that I've had. And if I didn't witness it, you wouldn't believe it to both Philadelphians. So I'm glad that there's going to be a film talking about the concrete, Cowboys right here in Philadelphia, and that you personally have some, intimate and personal ties with them that you can relate as my one experience. I have two things I'd like to discuss talk about real quick. Unfortunately, it seems as of late we're losing people who are moving on and passing away who have made an incredible impact with Philadelphia, its members, its organizations, as activists, as labor leaders. Today, along with Council Member Brooks and I believe all members of City Council, we passed a resolution acknowledging the 150th anniversary of the Philadelphia Fire Department. But I want to offer my condolences on the passing of the Philadelphia Fire Department and the Fireman's Hall historian, Jack Wright. Philadelphia fire personnel are Philadelphia's heroes, and their services over the past 150 years make them one of the oldest municipal fire companies in the country. Fittingly, Jack Wright was one of the leaders in preserving the department's history, and losing him will have a profound impact on us all. Lastly, I think a little more personal with folks in the labor community, and I would imagine some on City Council. This past Sunday, April 4th, we lost an incredible labor giant, Don McGrogan. Don was such a remarkable person. He was kind, he was energetic, and he was one of the hardest working guys I know. He was a labor warrior in UFCW Local 1776. I've worked with him over the past 20 years. I've worked with him side by side with the AFL-CIO's Labor to Labor program and Labor to Neighbor program. He's somebody who not only walked the walk, but he walked the streets. He knocked on doors. He was in our stores that UFCW represented. He was just a gentle giant. He was an incredible person who was inviting. He was warm. People felt comfortable with him. He was an incredible activist, in addition to a labor leader. He was only 62 when he passed away. He was an adored father and friend. He was a talented banjo player with the Aqua String Band. He lived in my district, and we have up in Mayfair, Holmesburg, we have a historic Thanksgiving Day parade. And every Thanksgiving Day parade that I marched in, I would always be looking for him, because him and his family were out there celebrating community and enjoying who we are as Philadelphia. So next week, I'm going to be introducing a resolution in his honor and his family's honor, and the UFCW members in their honor. And I welcome all co-sponsors from our member of council. So my condolences out to his family and to the membership of UFCW. Thank you for your time, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Hearts and prayers out to their family members. Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Recently, many Philadelphians celebrated Passover, Easter, and soon the month of Ramadan. And maybe because of those spiritual holidays, I want to cite Matthew 25, where it says, "For I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger in a strange land and you invited me in. I was sick and you cared for me. But the most powerful part of this Psalms is they say, I was in prison and you visited me. I say that because as chair of public safety and all of the members on the Public Safety Committee, particularly Councilwoman Brooks and Councilwoman Gim, who are often considered short in height, let me tell you, they are tall in stature. We went up to the prisons last Thursday, and I wasn't escorting them, they were escorting me. They walked through the facility with power and strength of our council and went into the various pods where 18-year-olds to 27-year-olds, predominantly people of color, were occupying in an environment that was held together, in my opinion, by bubble gum, duct tape, and piano wire. It is very tentative. But I met some of the most courageous correctional officers you will ever meet, many of whom, Mr. President, were female. We, during the budget process, have to pay attention to what's going on up on State Road. We have a courageous commissioner who's holding those things together. We walked into places, Mr. President, where all I can say is it was wasted talent. Idle minds create the devil's workshop, and it was on full display where guards, in my opinion, correctional officers, pardon me, were not safe. The inmates that were there were not safe. And I would say to you that this situation was exacerbated because of COVID and because of the fact that out of the 4,700 inmates there, the good news is many of them are getting vaccinated along with the correctional officers. The bad news is many of them refuse to take the shots. Because of that, you have high degrees of outages based on those correctional officers, which endanger those who come to work and have to stand their posts. I want you to know that out of the 1,800 or so correctional officers, there are 330 vacancies. Starting salary there is $44,000 a year. So if somebody is looking for a job, well, there you go. And those correctional officers are an important part of keeping us all safe. I need not point to you what happened to the inmate that was released and then murdered on the prison grounds. But when someone decides that I'm going to be bold enough to go right up in a prison and assassinate someone, none of us, not the correctional officers, not the inmates that are housed there, are safe. So I just want to thank my colleagues that braved it. Brooks and Gim were something else to see. But I would encourage all of my colleagues to take that visit. I can't write a report or give a memo that can adequately describe what we experienced. I am looking forward to the prison commissioner's after action report and corrective steps to make us all safer as Philadelphians. But I want again thank all my members, including Majority Leader Parker, who has expressed great concern about what's going on, and say that during this budget process, to remember Matthew 25, and as we do our work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for your continued presence in a very important public safety issue. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to also thank my colleagues for their work and diligence on this very important issue around what's happening. And particularly Councilman Jones, you as the Chair of Public Safety have been doing a phenomenal job in terms of keeping the issues out there. I know that you, Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, the great duo that you are seen as really keeping the issue in the front. Right now, unfortunately, it's not like it wouldn't be in the front anyway, because there's just so much happening in the city. But I just wanted to say thank you for all that you're doing. And, listen, none of us is perfect, but we all work really hard to try to address the issues in the city of Philadelphia. One of the things that I just saw is a post on social media, which states that after 10 murders since Monday and more shooting deaths of women and juveniles, that federal law enforcement based in Philadelphia will be announcing tomorrow morning a federal initiative to combat violence in Philadelphia. And that includes the U.S. Attorney's Office, that includes our own Police Commissioner, Daniel Outlaw. It also includes, it looks like the FBI and the ATF. I don't have additional details on that, but I just saw a post come across. And listen, we can use all the help that we can get in our neighborhood. So I'm very interested to hear what else is going to be said and how that's going to work here for the citizens of the city of Philadelphia. Today, I wanted to just mention that this past Tuesday, April 6th, was National Library Workers Day. First, I want to acknowledge the concerned Black workers of the Free Library of Philadelphia who have organized and fought racial discrimination, inequality, and mistreatment in our library system for many years. A few weeks ago, a diversity and inclusion training event for the Free Library of Philadelphia staff took place, and the presenter discouraged over 200 participants from using the terms white supremacy, systemic racism, and white privilege because they were overused, quote unquote, overused, and supposedly unnecessary to finding solutions. The presenter also referred to white privilege as one of the other myths out there, therefore criticizing its use. This type of language denies the Black experience and the discrimination and biases that Black workers endure every day. And these statements are absolutely unacceptable. Events and messaging like this does not move our library system towards racial justice. White supremacy, systemic racism, and white privilege are very real and prevalent in our world today. And I would like to show my support to the Black library workers who have had to suffer through this event. As we celebrate National Library Workers Day, I am again uplifting the concerned Black workers' demand for equitable pay and fair treatment. I also wanted to just take a moment and talk about International Transgender Day of Visibility. And this past Wednesday, or the Wednesday before past, which was March 31st, 2021, was International Transgender Day of Visibility. This day celebrates the transgender community by educating, spreading awareness, and changing biases about what it means to be trans and gender nonconforming. In Philadelphia and many cities across the country, there is an epidemic of violence against trans people. We have lost many trans people in our own city to anti-LGBTQ homicides such as Dominique Remy Fells, Mia Green, and Tatiana Hall. Trans people also experience higher unemployment, homelessness, attempted suicide, and disenfranchisement rates, and are less likely to seek medical attention out of fear of discrimination. LGBTQ youth of color are overrepresented in child welfare, juvenile justice systems, and are likely to report harassment, physical assault, or sexual violence in schools by school staff. A day of visibility for most trans community is important because it acknowledges the strength, resilience, and unique characters of trans people and accepts individuals as they are. I would like to recognize Selena Morrison, the Executive Director of our Office of LGBT Affairs, who was likely the first open trans person to lead a city office, which marks a major step for Philadelphia. I also wanted to recognize Dr. Rachel Levine, the former head of the Pennsylvania Department of Health, who was confirmed to be the Assistant Secretary of Health for the Biden administration. This is another huge step for the LGBTQ community, as Dr. Levine is now the highest ranked trans professional to serve in the federal government. Every day, we must continue to raise awareness of the challenges trans and non-gender conforming people face, while we also celebrate the strength and perseverance of the trans community. And that being said, I want to thank you, Mr. President, for the latitude in delivering today's speeches for the majority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate you. Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Thank you very much, Council President. I wanted to thank my colleagues for joining together a couple weeks ago and sending a letter over to the municipal courts regarding the City Council's eviction diversion program. About a year ago, many of us took a big leap of faith on really making a commitment to housing as a human right. At the start of the pandemic, there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty. There wasn't money that was available for keeping people housed. I think when we talked about whether it was possible for folks to start paying people's rent, we initially got scoffed at by a number of different people around in that area. And we made a commitment nonetheless in a city that ranks the 4th highest in the nation in terms of eviction filings, a city that routinely processes about 20,000 evictions a year, 74% of whom target a Black renter, 70% of which target a woman, half of which target a caregiver of a dependent. We knew that evictions were needed to be put on pause and that we need to find a better way. And this council made a bold step by working together to pass the Emergency Housing Protections Act. We established a pre-filing diversion program with very little money, and the stalwart commitment of a number of city agencies, especially our housing counselors, who actually stepped forward to do the mediation work, even when there wasn't a guarantee of a reimbursement for their work. That is pretty extraordinary. As a result, we piloted also a rent assist program that started off with $10 million that the city was able to scrape together. That became, $28 million by June, thanks to the work of the state. City Council had to put in an additional $8 million to make that state program work. But by the end of the year, we had really shown that we can turn things around. And at the core of it was the diversion program. Really, it allowed renters and landlords to sit down together before you file for an eviction and talk things through, to explore what the options were. And when we had rent assistance money, when we had trained housing counselors, it turns out that an overwhelming number, we did probably 2,500 mediations between September through February. 90% of them found a resolution other than an eviction. And that's pretty incredible. By the end of the year, Philadelphia became the face on the front page of the New York Times about a city that was working overtime to get money out to landlords and tenants and to keep people housed. In January, the state passed, thanks to the Federal Relief Act last year, had $500 million statewide. $100 million of that comes to Philadelphia. All of us have been spreading around the benefits of phase 4 of rent assist. The Biden rescue plan, with $27.5 billion devoted to rent assistance, could likely double that. What that means is that we may not have to see a poverty-based eviction here in the city of Philadelphia. But this really relied on the courts being a partner on this. And, to be clear, while we have had a historic mortgage foreclosure diversion program that made Philadelphia a model for the nation. Thank you so much to Councilman Jones, to Judge Annette Rizzo at the time at the municipal courts, and many others who had a role to play on it. We showed that diversion can really make a difference. The question was, could we also do it around evictions? And last week, thanks to a letter that was signed by an overwhelming majority of City Council, an appeal to the courts issued a formal order, temporary for right now, but we hope will move towards a permanent basis, that eviction diversion is mandatory. That means that you cannot actually file for an eviction until you first apply for rent assistance, and you seek mediation through the diversion program. This is obviously for non-payment of rent. And this is really transformative by having the courts recognize the fact that mediation and negotiation, a contact between two parties, can actually result in better outcomes. It means that we don't have to necessarily go back to the way things were. In a city that once did 20,000 evictions, we held it down below 5,000 evictions in 2020. We also made sure that landlords got paid over $60 million in rent checks, from as little as several $100s out to thousands of dollars in rent checks, went out to pay people's back rent, to pay people's current rent, and to pay rent going forward. There is a different path from what we have chosen, and we don't have to stick with the old ways. It is also possible that evictions are a driver of poverty, not merely a consequence of it. So when we keep people housed, when we don't throw people out onto the streets, when we keep young kids stable in schools, and our most needy individuals just a little bit more stable for a period of time, we have a chance to see our way through to the other side. And that's in part why I think, this conversation that we're going to have about the city budget matters. There are lots of questions that are before us right now. Questions about whether, we are going to move forward boldly on a path to address gun violence in our city. When we have hearing after hearing that clearly shows that people are struggling, young people are struggling, just to even access basic services around trauma therapy and supports, that we need supports within our communities. We've been told over and over again, we need extended programming, outreach to communities, especially for young people who are overwhelmingly impacted by gun violence, Black and brown youth in particular. And that a decade ago, when the last time we saw 400 shootings in our city in 2006, what did we do back then? We cut back on schools. We closed many of them down. Services were cut back in an austerity agenda. We can't pursue that agenda again. Here in the middle of a pandemic, we cannot pursue an austerity agenda. It just does not make sense at this point in time. And if an austerity agenda pits our people against tax cuts for extremely, high-end corporations or income taxes, when corporate income taxes are at the lowest point that they've been in decades, then we have to ask ourselves whether all the promises, all the hearings that we've made matter. And so we've got a mission. I know this is going to be a conversation. I think we've shown transformative things that we can do when we help people stay housed, when we fund young people's schools, when we give them the programs that they need to survive, when we deal with people's trauma and their therapy, and we remind ourselves that at the core of a prosperous economy is a healthy individual. It's a healthy neighborhood. It's a supported place. That too is a healthy business environment. A strong city, healthy people, an educated populace is a healthy business environment. There isn't one definition to it. I look forward to that conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for your continued hard work. It appears that concludes the speeches on behalf of the minority and the majority. So with that, I would like to recognize Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that City Council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 15, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It is moved and second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 15, 2021, 10 a.m. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much, and please be safe.
Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDRadio.com.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to City Council Live. You just heard the full Philadelphia City Council session of the whole. That just ended, that just adjourned. So let's take a quick break. When we come back from that break, we'll have open phone lines at 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Now We Transition to Reality Check. After City Council, after Philadelphia City Council, that is 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. We're here live on WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com, WURD TV, WURD app. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
You probably heard it before, but one of the best ways to stay safe from COVID is by avoiding crowds. That's better. Also, when you're out in public, make sure you stay 6 feet away from strangers or people you don't live with. It's okay to say, "Can I have some space, please?"
Well, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day today, and we can expect much.
If you're gonna have a get-together with friends and family, have it outside. And remember to keep those 6 feet of social distance. And last but not least, wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth with no gaps. They slow the spread of COVID or new forms of the virus called variants. And make sure you get your vaccine when it's your turn. We're all out here trying our best, and it's making a difference. We just gotta keep it up. We can do this.
To learn more about slowing the spread, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Tune in this Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. for the Islam Today show, with a perspective on moral guidance and Islamic principles and values.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's new monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. For April, WURD Radio is partnering with the Free Library of Philadelphia and showcasing their pick for its annual citywide reading program, One Book, One Philadelphia, entitled The Tradition by Jericho Brown. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it, Tuesday, April 13th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit WURDradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on WURD Radio and WURDradio.com.
All right, welcome back. Phone lines are open at 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900 here on Now Reality Check. We've transitioned out of City Council Live. We are back here on Reality Check, and phone lines are open, 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Give us your thoughts, give us your perspective, give some feedback on what you just heard in an extended session compared to other sessions. An extended session, a now post-holiday session of Philadelphia City Council. They coming back. Obviously, they were out last Thursday, because of the holiday, the Easter Resurrection Sunday break. So now they came back today, 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. Also, don't forget, WURD Radio, in partnership with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, and LabCorp, have teamed up to launch Go to Know. Go to Know is a fresh new public health campaign to reduce colorectal cancer in the Black community. So you can request your free, this is, once again, it's free, easy, at-home colorectal cancer screening test called a FIT kit. The FIT kit is designed to provide early detection of colorectal cancer. The FIT test doesn't require any fasting or colon cleanses, and it can be done in a matter of minutes. So most importantly, you'll learn how to make sure you and your family members stay well and live a long, healthy life, because colorectal cancer is one of those cancers disproportionately affecting our community. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner or call 1-877-422-2030 to learn how you can get your free at-home Fit Kit screening test. So that's absolutely free. Go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner for more information, or call 1-877-422-2030. This is very important. Colorectal cancer is one of those very prominent cancers, unfortunately, tragically, very difficult, very tough cancer that our community in particular is dealing with. Pennsylvania is third in the nation as far as cancer rates, statewide cancer rates in the country. So that's something to keep in mind. So cancer is a real epidemic in Pennsylvania, and especially in regions like southeastern PA and more specifically cities like Philadelphia. Cancer rates are very high. And I was just having that conversation during the Black Health Matters PA conference, which is going on right now. Go to blackhealthmatterspa.org for more information on that and how you can continue to listen in, because I think that's going to be going on until about 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock. I know it's supposed to be 8 or 9 p.m. This evening. So there's a lot of great informative panels, and it's all about encouraging more action in our community with respect to our health. Also talking more about our health, and also our environment, how like the state of our health or the condition of our health also correlates with the zip codes we live in, the spaces we live in, and that the state of our environment is going to determine, or always determines, the state of our health. So we also have to look at better ways, encourage or devise better strategies to protect our environments, because that's having a debilitating impact, or that's creating very debilitating, destructive impacts on our health as a community, as a people. Let me go to Tiffany out of South Philly, who's calling in for a reality check. Tiffany, how are you doing?
Hi, Charles. How you doing?
All right.
Good. I wanted to call up because we were going to speak on this bill 210078, which is another 26-page zoning bill, but we did not get the phone call to speak. So that's why I'm calling your show, because I want you to talk about this, and the reason being because.
So you called for public comment.
Yeah, we called for public comment, but we did not get a phone call to speak on this particular bill. That's very interesting. So, but we want to talk about it because this is another 26-page zoning bill, which we think can be very harmful to the community. Being that a lot of times the description of the bill is deceiving, like they say zoning and planning, and unless you go through all 7-8 bills, you don't know how many pages the bill is, okay? And you know, we're all volunteering in this. So I say all to say the reason why this bill is hurtful, because what they're doing, they're removing the community process, the community vote, the community meeting, by giving developers bonuses and type of things that they can add to their property. For example, they have in there one where they're allowing the developer to take one property of like 1440 square footage or 1600 and split and build two houses on one lot, single family home, and making it over the counter without a community meeting or a community vote. Now, or the other thing is they're creating a new residential district called RSA 6. Has this been shared on WURD or talk about that you're creating a new residential district? And what is that district for? Because the problem is...
Also, just out of curiosity, real quick, Tiffany, before you go on, 210078, and I'm bringing that bill up now. Who's introducing that?
Sanchez. And
Sanchez.
so it's hard to get in contact with people, and I haven't really. Someone sent the bill to me and said, check it out. It's 26 pages, because I went through it. When I went through the list, I didn't know it was 26 pages. So I don't want to seem like we're always last minute, but like I said, you know, you can't always go through everything. However, my point is that we have to stop this in the black community if we're going to have a say in what development comes in our community. We must maintain the community process and the community meeting and the community vote. You can't make this, it's called a by right, Charles, where they're making it by right, where the developer can go down and just pay for the permit and get it over the counter. Therefore, we don't have a say in what goes on, and that's what's angering us. That's why we're calling you, because we're saying it's like you're complaining about Georgia and what the Republicans are doing about removing your right to vote for political career or political politician, but you're removing our vote to have a say in new development coming into our community, and that's not right.
Another thing too. Do you know where that bill is right now? Is it on second reading and final passage?
It was on second reading, but I think they moved it to next week for a final vote. So
got it. So you should call again. Make sure you call by Wednesday 3 p.m. I just now, as you were talking, I tweeted Philadelphia City Council, and I also tweeted council member. I'm just letting everyone know, Councilwoman Maria Canones Sanchez, asking them about that. They need to please advise that you and some other residents that called about 210-078 to provide public comment didn't get a call back. So let me see what happens. Let me see if I get a tweet back. Most of the council members typically, when I do that, are responsive, but I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah, I didn't get a call back. But the thing is that what's happening, like, what is this new district, RSA 6, a new residential district? I mean, explain that. We need explanation. So one of the suggestions, because you don't want to always seem like you're criticizing them, but the thing is, it needs to be more engaging. One of the ideas we came up with is having community meetings in each district. So it's a Q&A session, so people can chime in and ask questions about this zoning and get a clear understanding. Because even with my experience, a lot of times I need a clear understanding of what do you mean by this.
I agree. Me too. And Tiffany, real quick to your point, like we have like sort of an in-house urban planning expert, national urban planning expert, Paul Sanders, who comes on this program regularly.
I would like to.
And we've had sort of, I don't know if you've noticed, I mean, we've had a couple of segments with him already over the past few weeks. Much of that was kind of triggered or instigated by, because I remember you calling him before and having some issues with some other zoning bills, and a few other listeners calling in, just a lot of confusion around recent zoning bills. But, he was giving us a primer on the history of zoning. The history of zoning is segregationist.
It is.
I mean, it's racist. It's in its very origin. It's racist urban policy. It's racist public policy. I mean, they created it for the express purpose back then at the dawn of the 20th century to keep black populations separated from white populations.
Exactly.
So black elected officials or elected officials of color need to be very, very careful. It's like the filibuster debate we're having in the U.S. Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's also racist public policy. When you know the history of this sort of public policy, you're a lot more, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, a black elected official should be a lot more sensitive about that history and should be very, should be very methodical and very intentional about how they go about this. I know zoning is something that cities rely on and city legislators, lawmakers, policymakers rely on as an urban planning tool, but they have to be much more careful and deliberate in how they go about it, especially when you look at that history and how zoning has been weaponized against us. And in the case of Philadelphia City Council, to your point, Tiffany, that doesn't seem to be the case. There's just like, oh, this is zoning, this is the tool we use, let's use it, and there's no intentionality, no deliberation around it.
But it is. And the thing is, you're saying to these developers,
in terms of the community impact, yes, you're right. It's intentional, deliberative on behalf of developer interests. But you're right. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're saying that when you remove these variances out of the zoning, you're saying to developers, look, we're going to open the door for you. You don't have to go through the community process or the community. Sit down with the community.
Sure.
The reality is that Philadelphia is largely African American minority community of homeowners. We're known for that, and that's not good for us having, like I said, a majority African American, black and brown city council. You should be giving power back to the communities and with a community vote and a community process, and we're going to really push that. We have a right to a vote.
Please do.
A right to a community process.
Please do. And when you provide public comment too, Tiffany, I'm going to make sure I get some kind of response on what's happening. Well, a couple of things real quick. Please do try it again. Try it again to come back to public comment next Wednesday because I want to hear public comment on meaty substance issues like what Tiffany is presenting here. It's an important issue, zoning. We've got to make better sense out of it. Elected officials, especially black elected officials in the city of Philadelphia, who should know better. right? You know, a special board. Maybe they need to go back to the history books and they need to read up on zoning, or they needed to have listened to those segments that we did with Pete Saunders earlier about the history of zoning, because maybe they forgot. You know, a lot of folks have forgot the history of these things. But
we need to have real quick, and I know, and I'll let you.
Yeah, go ahead, real quick.
Some kind of solution based here. We can't continue this, cat and mouse game. The thing about this is that we need to sit down, and I'm asking Councilman Clark and others to come to the table, and I know RCOs around the city who are experiencing the same thing that we are experiencing. Yeah. We need to come to the table, and they need to have a meeting with the community RCOs or community residents and hear from us what is wrong with this new zoning code they have put in place.
Just for people who don't know, RCOs, what is that?
Registered community organizations. We register, and most of us handle zoning process, the community zoning meeting. We get notifications of the different zonings come into the neighborhood. Then get this, they have what they call coordinating RCO, where the councilman gets to select the coordinating RCO. That's a process in itself that I can talk with you about.
What about the City Planning Commission? I mean, isn't that a vehicle that can be used to resolve these issues over zoning? City Planning
is that the only thing you can do is based on what is allowed in the code. Wherever you have a community meeting, a lot of times we have a community meeting and the developer come there and want to do, let's say, a rooftop deck. In this particular bill, they have where they're changing rooftop deck setbacks, you see them on the third floor, from 8 feet to 5 feet. Well, you didn't ask us anything. You didn't ask the community about a vote or input or anything on that. So when we have the community meeting and the developer comes to the meeting, he simply says, well, by code, I can do 5 feet. I don't have to do 8 feet. So at that point, we have no real power to say. What can you say at that point when he says city council passed a bill that allows us to go at 5 feet setback as opposed to an 8 feet setback?
We need to make that process. We need to figure out, you're right, Tiffany, we need to figure out a way to make that process more accessible and user-friendly. Right. And I haven't seen anyone figure that out yet. But I mean, I think you were on the right track when you just said about a few moments ago, each of the city council members should be setting up some kind of residential-based meetings, right, or town halls specifically dedicated to discussing zoning bills that they introduce.
Right.
Is that one way of going about it?
Exactly, especially when it's 26 pages, or like the one when we called you up before, 52 pages. You know, I mean, that's a lot of pages of changes that you're making, or you're taking away the rights of the people without having community meetings before the public comment session. You know, when you go to public comment session, you're supposed to already know what you're going to say and what you agree and you don't. This is a Q&A session in different districts regarding the bills, so people can ask, what do you mean by that? How is that going to affect us? How would that play an impact on our taxes? We should have those opportunities.
Yeah. You're with an organization, aren't you, Tiffany?
Yeah, I'm with the Concerned Citizens of Point Breeze. And
that's right.
They know us, and we're down here in Point Breeze and everything. For example, we're about to talk about, which is our supermarket is being demolished. And for example, a lot of your residents may not know, if you have 5 buildings, they're individual lots. What they have in the new zoning code now, Charles, where they are allowing developers to change the lot lines from 5 lots or 3 lots into 1 lot and build 1 large apartment building. Well, if they make that over the counter, then that means the community doesn't have a vote, a community meeting, or a say. We have to address this. If city council cares about their community, then they should give us back the right to vote and have a say.
Because I'm trying to get Councilmember Kenyatta Johnson on, but he keeps saying it's a scheduling issue. Shouldn't take this long to get one of the council members to come on to talk about. I mean, I just, on Twitter, I just raised an issue regarding evictions and access to rental assistance to Councilmember Helen Gim. She immediately tweeted back and was like, "Would love to come on the show and talk about it."
Okay, that's good.
So I don't get Councilmember Kenyatta Johnson, but when I'm saying, hey, listen, when I've told his communications director, hey, listen, there's some folks who are calling in having issues with these bills, and then there's the history of zoning, et cetera. And he's like, well, yeah, it's just a few people. The way it's kind of framed is as if it's just a few of y'all in his district that are raising Cain about this. But I mean, it sounds like it's not just you as concerned citizens from Point Breeze. It sounds like it's a lot of folks within that district, within that neighborhood, your community, who are really anxious about this.
Well, first I have to disclose that Councilman Johnson is coming to meet with the Point Breeze stakeholders tonight on the committee, and I do sit on that committee. So he has agreed to meet with the Point Breeze stakeholders. Let me say this.
I might need to bring you on, Tiffany, because he's avoiding coming on this program at this point to talk about it. Because I that's great. I'm glad that's a good development. But like, once again, talking about transparency and accessibility to these conversations, come on the program and just let's talk about it. So, everyone can be exposed to the conversation. But go ahead, Tiffany.
I just take offense when they say little people, because they don't put that on new residents when we go to their meetings and they have 6 people sitting up there and they're making all the demands and getting exactly what they want. So, but we have brought out hundreds of people, 200, 300 people to meetings, and we voted no on different development that we thought was against us. And we went down to the zoning board, and they passed it in our face in favor of the developer. And, people get tired of that. They're like, they feel as though the system is working against them. They don't say in their voice. And so, yes, we people will continue to come out. We do come out. But a lot of times when you go to the ZBA board, you get a different type of and that's a different conversation that we could have down the road. But you may, a lot of times ZBA may not go in your favor and go in favor of the developer. The problem is with that is that a lot of times low-income groups don't have the financial ability to get a lawyer to appeal to civil court.
Wait a second. Wait. Okay. So do you have a lawyer right now?
Hmm?
Do you have a lawyer right now who's helping you with this?
No, I don't have a lawyer at this point. We don't have a lawyer at this particular point.
So what are all these, like, I don't understand. Like, you got Philly Barristers Association. Can't they help out? Like, don't we have like black lawyer groups in the city that can help out with stuff like that?
Well,
pro bono, perhaps?
We have reached out to, and that's another thing that low-income groups don't have access to, which is the funds to pay for a lawyer. Lawyers is pretty expensive.
Yeah, but you should have. I mean, if this is something that's about the community, it's based on real, like, pernicious public policy making that impacts large swaths of the Philadelphia population. I mean, there should be activist lawyers out there. There should be lawyers willing to do that for you pro bono.
Well, we asked the city to possibly allocate funds back about 2015, allocate funds for a division of community legal services to have where we can go to get a lawyer, because how is it that you're pushing or supporting development in these communities and not providing residents or even groups of opportunity to have a lawyer to appeal these issues? If
one organization that comes to mind, like Community Legal Services of Philadelphia, have you reached out to them?
They said they do not have the funds to have a zoning lawyer on staff. They don't have it. So that's one of the issues. The other issue that we had, I think one of my community colleagues called you last week, talking about how when residents' houses get damaged from developers, okay? When you call 311, they tell them that you have to go to civil court. That's another issue we've raised, saying that why should poor residents have to go and get a lawyer to go to civil court when the city should be having something set up where they can go and get help if a developer has damaged their property, through new development. So these are issues that we would like to sit down, but they don't want to come to the table to discuss these issues at all. When it comes to now, they'll talk about peaceful violence and everything like that, but when it comes to dealing with development and zoning and big money developers, it gets mum's the word.
Right. Because that's by design.
Exactly.
Because they don't want you to know what's going on. I don't understand. Okay, so Community Legal Services doesn't have any money. I'm like, the times are urgent right now. I mean, there's just so much going on. I keep saying, Philadelphia is a very broken place, with very broken people, dealing with a wide range of problems and stressors. And so I'm like, people want to talk community, but then they don't want to do community. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. There's got to be, like, I know that there are hundreds of black lawyers, for example, in a city like Philadelphia. There's a Black Lawyers Association of Philadelphia. If distressed black people that have a community movement happening in, like, South Philadelphia, for example, on an issue as important and as profound as zoning, need a lawyer, I mean, come on, folks, like, step up.
Let me get my email.
I mean, if I was a lawyer, but I'm not. I just don't get it.
Let me give you my email. I'll give you my email, ccpbzoning@gmail.com. That's ccpbzoning@gmail.com. I also put that out there, so if you have residents around the city who have questions about zoning and not sure please feel free to email us, and we will try to supply you with that answer, because the developers are really starting to spread out north, south, east, and west. Before, it was always talked about just a Point Breeze issue. It's not. They're moving very much into North Philly, further up towards Logan and West Philly, and so feel free, and we'll try to direct you to get help if you haven't.
We got to come up with somehow we got to come up with a citywide strategy. Tiffany, I'll reach out to you. Let's get you back on. I actually, I'm glad you called in.
Okay.
And I really appreciate this extended session that we had with you. So we didn't plan on it, but I am glad that you called in. Let me let you go because I got to take one more caller before we head out and head into the source this afternoon. Let me go to Ms. Bobby out of Southwest. Ms. Bobby, thanks for your patience. Ms. Bobby, you're there? Are you there, Ms. Bobby? Okay, I think we spent so much time talking about zoning. It's an important issue. And the reason why, well, there's two reasons why people don't talk about zoning as much. One is most folks don't understand it. They don't know either enough about it, if they even know anything, or they just might not. They hear it, and it's not a very sexy term or phrase, and it sounds rather innocent, and it sounds like, well, this is just the way cities operate. This is what cities do. This is how cities build. But there is a very sordid history behind zoning. I just feel like Black elected officials, particularly in a place like Philadelphia, should be stepping around a lot more carefully when they are discussing, or they're deliberating on, or they're introducing zoning-oriented legislation. Then they should immediately a flag should go up, and they should be prompting themselves, or their staff should be prompting them to have a direct conversation with the community. So there should be strategies in place in a city like Philadelphia for constant citywide community-based conversations about zoning, or zoning plans, or zoning moves, pieces of legislation that are proposing to activate zoning provisions in city law. So that's not taking place. I mean, so one, it's, people just don't understand it. There's very limited knowledge base around zoning. And so we've got to fix that. So there's lack of zoning literacy, as they say, just lack of urban planning literacy. So that's one. And two, a lot of that's by design. So, you have governments, and this is not just Philly, this happens everywhere, but you have like governments, especially on the local level, the municipal level, they've set up very inaccessible systems, to push through these types of changes. And so either inaccessible systems or systems that are not user-friendly. It's like, the conversation about sheriff sales, like council wants to move on that, on sheriff sales and sheriff sales online. But, they want to be cautious. They want to raise red flags about that. They don't want to raise red flags about all the zoning legislation that they keep introducing without talking to the community or having that direct conversation with the community. And who knows? I mean, some of that zoning could be, some of what they're proposing could be for the benefit of the community. But when people see that word, and they should, they should be, very anxious when they see that word zoning, when they see it, especially all the gentrification and displacement that's taking place, people get understandably upset. So council has got to do, and council members have got to do, and this goes to the council president too, you all have to do much better when it comes to this issue of zoning, and stop dismissing community concerns. It's people are, I don't profess to know everything, and there are a lot of people out there who don't know everything either, and they don't understand the issue. So, that's what you got elected for. You signed up for this, to do that kind of work, or to delegate that work to staff to make sure that happens. So figure out some very creative way to have more direct conversations with community folks, with residents like Tiffany and others who are concerned about these changes. And that's just not taking place. So we'll just continue to talk about it. All right, that wraps this Thursday edition of Reality Check and also City Council Live. We're headed into the source with guest host Michael Cord. Speaking of lawyers, but he's one of those like outstanding lawyers. I'm a big fan. So, and I know but he can't do everything. Michael Cord can't do it all. But anyway, it's good to have him on guest hosting The Source. That's coming up next, so stay tuned and dialed into WURD. I'm sure he'll appreciate it, and I'm sure you'll appreciate it as well once you listen in to his program. I want to thank Troy Wilmore as well. The board is still all this Reality Check week. I'm Charles Ellison. I'm at Ellison Report on Twitter.com, #Reality Check. Also, don't forget to go to #City Council Live as well. Philly and beyond, I want you to stay sharp, stay smart, but more importantly, please stay safe out there. And don't forget to check out blackhealthmatterspa.org. Actually, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to be moderating a panel about dietary choices, about Black diet and public health impacts. So that should be an interesting conversation. But check out blackhealthmatterspa.org for more on that. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Peace.